Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
Okay, we're gonna do a sow bug. Been messing with some touch dub techniques, mostly because we wanted to save time. We've been tying these for the shop, but kind of bumped into a pretty cool little dubbing blend for these sow bugs. So we're gonna show you how to mix the dubbing and then we'll tie the fly. But first of all, the bulk of the material is our own sow dub material in light gray. So this material, we are doing dubbing brushes with it. It's really good stuff, but it's still pretty long. It's about 3/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 inch long, which when you get in a dubbing brush can be kind of cumbersome. So I wanted to make it shorter for these dubbing brushes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix some of this sow dub with Callibaetis colored ice dub, but I'm not going to do it in its normal length. I'm going to come in with some scissors and I'm just going to cut everything about 1/4 inch. So just cut the whole clump. And yeah, if you got OCD, you know that you're not going to cut every single little fiber. But this gets us close enough. So I'm going to do the same thing with the Callibaetis colored, and I just used the lid of the coffee grinder for this. Now if you try to use a coffee grinder for like longer materials, it's just going to create a mess and burn up your motor. But for little fine stuff, it works perfect. And so this is just like, let's see, it's the Hamilton Beach Super Pro. Not really, it's just like a $15 coffee grinder. So I'm just going to take all that stuff, dump it in here. Now the coffee grinder will not chop the sow dub, but it will chop the really fine fibers of the ice dub, so you got to be careful of that. So I'm just going to pulse it 3 or 4 times, maybe 5, until we're nice and buggy looking. So you can see that's nice and blended. So I'm going to take that out of there. Now I'm going to take this whole clump and I'm going to go through that clump again and cut it again. About 1/4 inch in length. Back in it goes. Alright, now you could mess with a bunch of different colors. I just really like how the Callibaetis has that UV tone to it. So now we're looking at a dubbing that's super short. That's about the consistency that I'm looking for my touch dub sow dub. Okay, so to tie this touch dub sow bug, it's really simple. I've got a Daiichi 1550 hook in the vise. I really like this hook because it's got a pretty wide gap in it. This is a size 16 hook, but the shank is roughly about the same size as an 18, so that's a good size for sow bugs around here. And then I'm just tying it with a wine colored thread. This is Danville 70 Denier, and probably the most awesome bobbin in the history of bobbins. So I'm just gonna start my thread, and before I get it too dressed, I'm just gonna take a little bit of silver wire, and that's gonna create a little bit of ribbing. Like you could use wine or red or some other color of wire that would work just fine too. The thing I like about this bobbin is if you twist it, it just spins forever because it's pretty heavy. It's nice. Anyway, I'm going to go all the way to the back, and I've got a pretty nice little thread layer laid down on this. So here's where the touch dub technique comes in handy. I'll try to hold this out, but you'll get the picture. But I'm using Loon High-Tack Swax. So, and inevitably it's going to collect a bunch of crap from your fly tying desk. So I'm going to push up on the bottom a little bit until it's right about at the edge there. And then I'm going to take it and kind of push it out, and then I'm going to apply it to my thread kind of in a pushing motion to really get a bunch of wax on that thread. And I'm going to scrape it back off, but if I have a whole bunch on there, I'm confident that it made it onto the thread at some point. And this stuff is super sticky. So you can see I've got a generous amount of wax on this thing. And it's okay if you have some parts that are kind of globby. It's not going to make a difference. So then I'm just going to take some of this dubbing and I'm just going to touch it to the thread on both sides of it. And then you can see, I don't know how well you can see this, but if you have bare spots, just take a little pinch off of your dubbing and just push that right into your thread. So right here we're basically ready to roll, but before I start wrapping this forward, I'm just going to twist my thread up. And what that does is now as I start wrapping this onto my hook shank, it's going to catch those fibers and really keep it in place. So from here, it's really unruly until you get done with the fly. So just start wrapping this forward. And right about there is where I want to be done. So I'm just going to take that excess dubbing off. And I am going to put a little whip finish in this so that when I wrap my wire it doesn't come undone. Okay, so I'm just going to take my wire rib and wrap through that dubbing. And it doesn't matter if you catch materials down because we're going to brush this out. Just wrap that up to the front and then helicopter this off. And then just throw a whip into it. You really don't need a lot of turns on your whip finish. Okay, so now the fly is basically done, but we're going to turn it into a sow bug now. So I'm just going to take it and brush it out. And to me, this has the perfect amount of core and little straggly legs coming off of it. So you got the body, core, and then the legs coming out like a sow bug. So I'm just going to pull those out to the sides like this. So we've got a really flat bug. And then I'm just going to come in and trim the sides down. Just like that. So we're pretty much done here, except for we don't have kind of the vein going down the back of it like a lot of sow bugs have. So instead of like running a piece of crystal flash over it, I can either just use like a wine colored Sharpie, whatever color Sharpie that matches the thread that you use. I've got kind of like a little art marker that I'm going to use for that. So that's the line going down the back of it. Now just to add durability and shape and all that, it looks like I gotta trim the bottom a little bit too. I'm gonna take some Loon fluorescing and just dab a little bit down into that center line. So I'm going to let that soak in, and then when I hit it, I've added a little bit of UV property to that. Let's see, the camera really picks that up well. So anyway, that's the touch dub sow bug. It's super easy. Mostly designed so that you could tie a bunch of them here in the shop, but it really fishes well too. Give them a tie and give them a try.